Hello, my name is Jasmine, and today we're going to discuss one of the most controversial topics in America today, the death penalty. There are arguments that capital punishment equates to cruel and unusual punishment, which violates the law. As Americans, we are given unalienable rights that have been around for as long as one can remember. These rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and no one can deprive us from these rights, and it should not be up to the state whether one lives or dies. The death penalty is an act of injustice. Today, I will speak on four different topics as to why we should abolish the death penalty. First off, too many people have been wrongfully convicted of crimes they did not commit and they are suffering from it. Mistakes made now cannot be rectified later. Secondly, racial bias has always been a significant issue in death penalty debates. Certain races are solely targeted more than others when it comes down to conviction. Why is this? Another reason why we should abolish the death penalty is because it costs a significant amount of money to execute someone rather than to just keep them in jail for life without parole. And last but not least, minorities and people who are poor are more likely to be sentenced to the death penalty because of their representation. Because they cannot afford expensive lawyers, they're given court appointed lawyers who might not take the time to fully and detailedly look at their case. Therefore, they are getting executed. I too believe that the death penalty violates the law and that it should be completely abolished. Since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, 1,342 convicted murderers have been executed in the United States. Since then, 8 of the people that were executed, it is now known that they were wrongfully executed, and 140 of the people that have been on death row were exonerated due to new traces in the evidence, but have served an average of 13.5 years before the evidence was discovered. In today's society, there should be enough advanced technology that doesn't lead fingerprints to the wrong people, or that doesn't give off misleading information. How do you apologize to someone who is wrongfully convicted and executed? You can't. Or someone who has spent years in jails for crime that they did not commit. Time cannot be rewound and lives cannot be given back. We should abolish the death penalty so that things like this are more unlikely to happen. Race also plays a big role in the debate over the death penalty. As of November 2013, the Death Penalty Information Center states that in Louisiana, the odds of a death sentence were 97% higher for those whose victims were white than those whose victims were black. In 2012 alone, cases where there was a white defendant and a black victim, there were 18 executions. In cases where there were a black defendant and a white victim, there were 253 executions. A study in California found that those who killed whites were over 3 times more likely to be sentenced to death than those who killed blacks, and over 4 times more likely than those who killed Latinos. The odds of receiving the death sentence rose to 3.5 times among those defendants whose victims were white. In the past, there have been 4 methods used for execution: lethal injection, hanging, gas chamber, and electrocution. Lethal injection is used as the primary method of execution with 1,179 executions, 158 electrocutions, 11 gas chamber executions, and 3 hanging executions. To me, even though lethal injection is supposed to be painless, the remaining 3 methods of execution are violation of rights and cruelty and are misconduct. How would you feel if someone were to put you in a gas chamber while you suffered and died? These methods bring back memories of cruelty of the Hitler days. Cost is the third allegation as to why we should abolish the death penalty. In America, it costs way more to execute someone than to just keep them in jail for life without parole. Since capital punishment was reinstated in 1976, about $4 billion has been spent in only one state of California. That's about $308 million for each of the 13 executions carried out there. If there were about 1,342 executions since reinstatement, and it has nearly cost 4 billion executions in one state, imagine how much it would cost the United States total. The number would be outrageous. In Maryland, it costs 3 million to execute an inmate, and in North Carolina, it costs 2.16 million as well. And aside from the 4 billion spent in California on incarceration, trial costs, and etc., it has cost an additional 184 million per year for enhanced security on death row and legal representation. America should abolish the death penalty, cut these funds that are being used on the death penalty, and use them for something helpful towards the community, such as special programs in after-school care, college, police academies, rehabilitations, and etc. As of today, more than 139 nations worldwide have abandoned capital punishment in law. Now it's our turn as a whole to abandon the death penalty as well. In the United States, more states are agreeing that capital punishment is wrong and cruel and are deciding to move away from it. Recently, New York and New Jersey have abolished the death penalty in 2007. New Mexico abolished it in 2009, and Illinois abolished it in 2011. But even with the abolishment of the death penalty in 3 states, 34 states still currently have it intact, meaning that only 6 states do not. 16 states do not. Excuse me. This is not enough states that don't support it, and we need more. We need to work hard as individuals to persuade people that two wrongs do not make a right. I suppose that people look at the death penalty as a form of closure, but the death penalty cannot bring loved ones back, nor can it heal wounds, and we need to recognize this. The government should not teach killers a lesson by killing. That's a little contradicting if you ask me. What about you? In every state, jurors have the option of sentencing convicted capital murderers to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This sentence is cheaper for the state and still offers a chance to keep offenders off the street for good and prevent wrongfully convicted crimes. Once a life is taken, it cannot be given back. All it takes is one person to stand up and fight to abolish the death penalty. So if you're listening to this, stand up and fight for the right of our fellow citizens. And before you go, if you don't remember anything that we have just discussed, remember this. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? No. Then do not be eager to deal out death in judgment. Abolish the death penalty. Thank you.